They don't really mean anything. So, but still, 9 points.
Flap your hands, Flappy Bird.
So on Twitter, Peter Levels had that video game Vibe Jam 2025, where people basically created video games with AI doing a vibe coding. One of the entries was a guy like flapping his hands in front of the camera. And that translated to a 3D bird flying through pipes, a Flappy Bird, if you will. It was literally a 3D Flappy Bird clone that you had to control by flapping your hands, your wings. And I don't remember who it was. I wish I could give him credit. If I find, I'll put it in the comment section if I find it, but I really wanted to test that out. So create a game similar to Flappy Bird, make the game 3D, use the user's webcam to track their hand motions. As the user moves their hand up and down, that makes the birds flap its wings. It did it. It worked. It ran it in a local server so that you're able to just open up in a web page. By the way, this model was the smoothest one so far, and being able to do that, just phenomenal. I haven't seen other models. Sometimes you have to do a few things. Sometimes it won't work. This one just, boom, did it. The problem is I couldn't record it since I had to use my webcam, and recording at the same time was an issue. and it didn't display a visual of me on screen. So it was a little bit difficult to figure out kind of like the input was hard. It was hard to figure out how to flap your hands around to make the bird fly. It was okay, but it was a little bit, you needed some sort of a display of where your hand was or some sort of a representation of your hand on the screen. So I am going to redo that whole thing. So create a game similar to Flappy Bird, make the game 3D, use the user's webcam to track their hand motions. But I'm going to have the user's camera feed be visible in the game. I'm going to say have some sort of an overlay over the fingers or the hand that shows how it's getting tracked. So I'm going to start there. So in each case, it gives you 3 files, the index, the script.js, and a style.css. It defaults to that, but basically what you do is here's our HTML page. By default, we just call it index.html. So we take this code, we paste it in there, and we'd save that as index.html. Next file is game.js, and that's this right here. And actually here, it just wants those 2 files. So let's check it out and see if it runs. All right, let's try it. So that's not working. So interestingly, I just see a black screen, but in the top right corner, I do see kind of this is my hand, if you can't tell, as I move it, I guess I can make it into a fist, peace sign, okay sign. So it's picking that up and it's drawing like a little overlay. So ideally, as I do something like this, the bird would fly and I'd be able to control the game this way. But there is no bird here or here or here. But where is the bird? Where? Is it here? Is it here? There? It's nowhere. Where's the bird? There zero birds. Zero birds. So interestingly, it says add this to the CSS file. It did not have a CSS file, which is kind of what you use for styling and stuff like that. So I've created it. I need to add this to the top of the index file. All right, so we're back to here. We have the hand, but still no bird, as you can see. Grrr. All right, so we have the style sheet, and now this is what the entire window looks like. I can see my hand, but as you can see, there's no bird. Not here, not here. Very frustrating. Grrr, grrr. Frustrating.
Channel surfing.
Credit to Alexander Chan for this one. Create a TV with different channels and just create random animations on each channel. So let's see what it does. So here's the prompt. So coded TV that lets me change channels with keys 0 through 9. Come up with an idea for all the channels, all the numbers, inspired by classic genres of TV channels. And then I give it some specifications on how to do it. And so here's the initial output. And as you can see, static void. But once we start pushing the buttons, on 1, it's live. Sketch goes live. Local artist competes TV simulation. Very cool. Number 2, Tooniverse Junior. We just basically have this red ball floating up and down. Number 3 is Echo Pulse. So very incredible, amazing graphics. Number 4 is some sort of sport, soccer, or what is that thing where you hit the little ball with the sliding thing with the rackets? There's a name for it. Is it air hockey? I think it's air hockey. And the score is just going up. Actually, it's not going up. It's going up and down. It's just random numbers changing. Okay. Number 5 is the cosmos. As you can see, we are approaching a planet with some sort of a spaceship. I have no idea, but it's terrific. And 6 is our Savor Station. Are you ready for the flavor explosion? Something's cooking and something is mashing something else. You get the idea. 8 is a Silver Shadows. Ooh, this is some sort of one of those things where, it starts out with a happy family and then it goes really, really bad. And the rest of the time you're trying to figure out what happened. Some sort of a murder mystery or something like that. Silver Shadows. Let me ask you, what movie do you think of when you hear the song Singing in the Rain? Was there a movie that just ruined that song for you? And if so, which one? And 9 is, of course, Terra Focus. So this is your Animal Planet. Oh, look, what is that? Some sort of a frightened cat, I think, that's slowly creeping across the savannah as the sun's going up. Wonderful. And 0 is Static Void. Well, I got to say, that's pretty good with just one prompt.
Blood Bowl.
There used to be this tabletop game and eventually became a video game called the Blood Bowl. So if you kind of think of the Dungeons and Dragons universe, or specifically this is the Warhammer universe, it's that, but they play, American football, and it's very bloody. People get hurt and injured, etc. And the different teams are sort of the different sort of sets of mythical creatures. Like you can have the dwarves, the orcs, the elves, etc. Can this model just recreate that? Let's see. Let's create a game that resembles a Blood Bowl. This game takes place in a Dungeons and Dragons-like universe. Each team is a collection with fantasy creatures like orcs, goblins, elves, etc. The game they are playing is a more violent version of American football. Create a game that plays itself. Create an orc team that is slower but hits harder and is able to knock down opponents. They excel at running the ball and are hard to take down. The other team will be elves. They are faster and better at the passing game. Create each player with strength, endurance, agility, and speed stats. Strength determines how hard they hit. Endurance, how likely they are to not get knocked down or not get injured. Agility is for passing and handling the ball off. I was thinking handing the ball off, but maybe handling the ball is probably a better way of saying that. Speed is the movement speed. Make each one between 1 and 10. Each action gets a simulated 20-sided dice roll to see if it passes or fails. The number needed to pass depends on the player's stat. 1 is always a critical failure, 20 is always a critical success. Otherwise, it might be something like to knock down an opponent by blocking. The formula is 8 plus strength. If the roll is above that, the block succeeds. Create a display of all the player stats and also a box that shows the results of the dice rolls as they happen. All right, so that seems pretty complicated. I don't know where it's going to go with this, but I just want to add one thing that is sort of, I think, the special sauce that makes this game just incredible. Because in that game, these players develop experience and get more abilities over time. So you sort of are very invested in these players, and as they level up and get better, you kind of rely on them more and more. Here's the problem. Anytime they fail or they get hit, there's a chance that they are sort of injured. And then you roll the 20-sided die again to determine how bad their injury is. And if that number is bad enough, they die, or they have some permanent injury that makes them, lose agility, for example. So basically means that your star player can just drop dead, at any time. The chance is low, but it does happen, and it is just devastating. I've never had any injury issues, but the closest I've come is playing this game. Whenever a player gets hit or fails any action, roll a 20-sided dice to see if they are injured. And I know that dice is plural and a die is singular, but I feel like this is just going to be a little bit more clear. I'm going to say rolling 1 is instant death, 2 to 10 is injury, meaning they stay down until the end of the round, otherwise no injury. So we'll at least get that sort of mechanic in there, and we can add a more sort of flavors of various things that can happen to them when they fail an action or get hit. Let's go for it. All right, so they gave us the code here. Let's find out how well it works. Press enter to start the game. Okay. All right, so first and foremost, I did not realize, but it chose to do it as a text-based game, which is interesting. That's not what I expected, but actually could be very interesting. And now that I think about it, I mean, since the original game was a sort of turn-based, this is, and it's probably thinking I'm referencing the board game. I mean, the text-based game is literally the best interpretation of what I told it to do. So as you can see here, the elf thrower attempts a pass. The agility is 8. It rolled a 2, and it's a failure, so he drops the ball, fumble, the turn is over. And then as the game continues, the elf thrower tries to block an orc blitzer,